the time you finish watching this video, you will know exactly if you need to reverse diet and if a reverse diet is a good idea for you in your weight loss journey. So before we go any further, let's make sure that you have notifications turned on, you're subscribed to the channel, you comment below, give a thumbs up, and be sure to just subscribe. Like I'm repeating that, but please do, so I can keep bringing great stuff like this to you. So let's take a look at this. Reverse diet is basically the opposite of a diet. It is slowly introducing calories back into your diet after being in a calorie deficit for an extended period of time, so you can not gain fat as fast, right? There are two options. You can go right back up to maintenance after being in a deficit for a while, but if someone is like a competitive bodybuilder and they have multiple shows or things of that nature, it could be really tough to gain back that weight very quickly, right? Not a good thing for them, technically. People who talk about reverse dieting now, and this was something that was brought up by Layne Norton, who was a competitive bodybuilder, powerlifter, is still, and I think it's really good for someone who is a competitive physique, bikini competitor, like that. Those are individuals who could really benefit from a reverse diet, and we'll talk about why. But you most likely aren't one of those people. You're not someone who is competing in those things. And maybe, just maybe, someone on Instagram or TikTok or here on YouTube told you that you have a damaged, broken metabolism, and that's why you need a reverse diet. And they have a secret system that is going to get you in the best shape of your life and allow you to eat more calories while losing weight and staying lean. So let's talk about what a metabolism is. A metabolism is the chemical reactions inside your body that allows your cells to change food into energy, right? Allows your body to use the calories for energy. That's like a very basic definition. We don't need to get more complicated than that. Your metabolism is what our body does to regulate and use energy. That's what we're going to say. And that energy comes in the form of calories from the food we consume. It moves around, it adjusts. It's not one fixed rate, right? As we get older, technically our metabolism will slow down, but that's usually because we're doing far less. The more active we are, the more our metabolism gets put to use. If you are in a calorie deficit and you are doing a lot of activities, you'll find that the leaner you get and the smaller you get, your metabolism slows down. Your body is trying to just find homeostasis. Your body is just trying to do the bare minimum to keep you alive. So if we don't need to burn all this extra calorie because we've cut our calories, it makes sense that the metabolism would slow down. On the other side, if you gain a lot of weight and you're in a calorie surplus, your metabolism will speed up. Does that necessarily mean that you are going to be lean because you've consumed more calories and your metabolism is up? Well, that's not true. Because you could have someone who's 400 pounds and their metabolism is fast, but they're still 400 pounds. And you could also have someone who is 125 pounds, really lean, has muscle, and their metabolism technically would be slower. So you could look at it from two ends of the spectrum. The metabolism can adjust, but there are some factors you can think about for metabolic slowdown, right? Your metabolism slowing down. Number one, being in a deficit long term. Like someone who is a yo-yo dieter or someone who is in a deficit for like months on end, your metabolism is going to slow down or be a little slower. That doesn't mean it will slow down forever, but that's something you have to keep in the back of your mind. The other thing that you have to consider is how big that deficit is. Like if you have an enormous deficit, a very big one, then you're gonna find your metabolism slows down sooner because you're consuming a lot less energy. You're consuming far less calories, and your body is going to slow down to match the lack of calories you consumed, okay? So the leaner you get, the lower that number of calories will have to be to continue to lose weight, and your body is naturally going to try to save energy by having you slow down in general. And how lean you've gotten. In the bodybuilding world, they like to use the term thick skin lean. That means very, 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 very lean, where you see your veins popping and like very single digit body fat percentages. It is not healthy to be that lean. It's just not. And there's tons of hormonal side effects to it. Bodybuilders talk about it a lot. Physique competitors talk about it a lot. So what you can understand here is that if you're super, super lean, like very, very, very lean, if you're still trying to get lean and you're very, very lean, you're going to be consuming far less calories, which is naturally going to slow down your metabolism because you've been in this deficit for a long time. The longer time you are in a deficit while being very, very, very lean, the more likely you're going to have this metabolic slowdown. Okay? We have folks who would be considered, they might have what we call a thrifty metabolism, right? This is an example. If I, personally, because I fidget a lot and move a lot, you might see me do it now, I'm someone who naturally has a higher level of non-exercise activity thermogenesis. I just move. So if I'm in a calorie surplus and I'm eating above what I need for my maintenance calories to maintain my current weight, my body is going to try to use those calories. Like, I am more likely to be fidgety, I'm more likely to shake a foot, I'm more likely to go for a longer walk, have a more intense workout. That's just me. Where on the other end of the spectrum, there's someone who can consume those calories and they are not someone who has a thrifty metabolism. They are not someone who's going to try to move more. They're just going to eat because their body has that higher set metabolism and also they're just used to those patterns. On the flip side, if I go in a big calorie deficit, I'm going to be less fidgety. I'm going to maybe blink less. I'm not going to click a pen as often. I'm not going to want to even walk to check the mail. My body tries to adjust to conserve as much energy or use as much energy as possible. Different strokes for different folks. Everyone's going to be different, but that's something to keep in mind for yourself. If it's normal for the metabolism to adjust, what are some solutions? One, if you've been in a diet for a long period of time, I'm talking like you're consistently hitting your calorie range, you're staying very active, doing all these things, and you find that, well, the weight's not coming off anymore. Well, I'm very lean as it is. Number one, I really suggest this, and this is what I do with most of my clients. I do not expect someone to lose like 2 to 3 pounds of fat per week. That is not sustainable. That is very rapid. The bigger your deficit, the more body weight you lose, the more lean mass you lose. Like, that's what research shows. And as a result, the more fucked up your metabolism can get. So we can try to mitigate that by not having as big of a deficit. If your calorie deficit is a little bit smaller, let's say a little more reasonable, then you're going to find you lose weight at a more sustainable pace. Maybe it's going from 2 to 3 pounds per week to 1 to 1.5 pounds per week to 0.5 to 1%, 1 pound. It will take you longer, but you'll find that there are less side effects, right? Less hormonal shifts, things of that nature. You can make sure that you have periods where you are taking a diet break or refeeds. A diet break is a period that is a longer period of time, let's say 1 to 2 weeks, up to a month, where you're eating at maintenance or close to maintenance. Taking a break from being in a deficit, allowing yourself to bring everything back up so you have more energy, so you can be more productive, so hormonally things are okay. For people who are smaller, and I did a whole video on this, like being shorter and losing weight and why that's more challenging, that's what I would do. I would have someone in a deficit for like 4 to 6 weeks, and then I would bring them up to maintenance for about 4 weeks or 2 to 4 weeks, because it sucks to be that low calorie all the time. And as you can see, there are side effects to it at a certain degree. So we could have a diet break, or we could have scheduled refeeds. Refeeds could be a couple days. They could be 1 to 2 days during the week where we increase the amount of calories we are consuming, and they can come most likely from carbohydrates, which make it a little bit easier to perform better in the gym and to have energy overall. So diet breaks are longer periods of time. Refeeds are shorter periods of time. I'm just gonna say we don't have to be so sciencey about it, and you could just increase your calories on some days. Just throw all caution to the wind? Absolutely not. You should still track when you are on a diet break or a refeed day, because it's very easy to overconsume and easier to eat beyond maintenance, especially if you've been in a deficit for so long. So it's still important to track things. It's still important to hit a protein goal. It's still important to be aware of your fiber and your carbs and fat. And primarily you want to increase your carbohydrates. If you're a woman and you are dealing with some hormonal issues, you're going to want to consult an endocrinologist and not some guy on the internet. But making sure that your fat levels are increased too can be very helpful for that. There are a lot of people on the internet who like to claim starvation mode is the reason why you can't lose weight. They like to claim that the reason why you are, for lack of a better word, fat, even though you're eating low calorie, is because your body has reached this starvation mode where it wants to hold on to fat because you're eating so low calorie. Yes, there are tons of negative side effects to starvation. There is not a single person on this planet who is immune to starvation. If you go to a third world country and see someone who is starving, they are very, 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 sometimes dangerously thin. There is no one who is overweight who is starving. You have to also remember that a slow metabolism is recoverable. It does take time. So if you were someone who dieted down and you got very lean, it could take you 6 months, maybe longer, to get back to the point where everything is back in check, talking like hormones, your metabolism, your energy levels, because you have to consider the leaner you get, the more likely you are, like I'm talking when you get very lean, to burn like lean tissue. You have to build that back too. Not to mention the fat stores within your body. So that takes time. So that's why for some women, if you get very, 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 very lean, it could take you a little bit longer to get back. It just feels like you can't lose that weight again. Now this is talking about people who are actually in a calorie deficit and actually hitting like 1,200, 1,100 calories consistently. That's not the majority of people who claim that starvation mode is what's actually going on, or that you have broken your metabolism. Taking more effort to actually lose weight, the longer you've been in a deficit and the thinner you are, because you have to actually reduce your calories more. And when you reduce your calories more, as you know, your energy levels go down, but also it's just really hard. There comes a point where you get too lean. Again, this is someone who has been consistently hitting 1,200, 1,100 calories and is actually doing it. Like they're not doing the next thing that I'm going to talk about. You think you're eating 1,200 calories, but you're actually eating 2,000 calories. It happens. People tend to miscalculate how many calories they're actually eating. They do. They're not tracking accurately. They're not tracking things like sauces and oils, or the little bites of food they take off their kid's plate, or the pieces of candy they grab off a coworker's desk. Like all of those things count. They're not aware of that, or they're just not counting altogether and eyeballing things. When that sort of stuff happens, you're definitely consuming more calories, or maybe you're really low calorie during the week, and then by the time you get to Friday, you're like, well, I deserve this. And then you eat like 3,000 to 4,000 calories each day. Well, you're always going to be in a calorie surplus, or you're always going to be at maintenance, and you're not going to lose any weight. But it has nothing to do with your metabolism and everything to do with your accuracy around those things. So 1, your metabolism can't break. 2, starvation mode isn't what's stopping you. And 3, the big thing to really keep in the back of your mind is that your metabolism can move around and you can be okay. You don't need a special program. You're either in a calorie deficit and you're eating a well-balanced diet, you're getting enough sleep, you're drinking enough water, you're taking steps and being active, you're lifting weights, you're getting enough fiber. That if you're doing those things, you will lose weight, regardless of what age you are. That rule, the rules of thermodynamics, always will apply. However, if you do think something hormonally is wrong, I don't recommend taking advice from a nutrition coach online or from anyone else who says they fixed their metabolism doing X or Y. Hormonally, if there's something wrong, you would consult a specialist who is a doctor in that subject. It's important. Should you reverse diet? Well, if you've been dieting a long time, months over months over months, being in a calorie deficit without ever taking a break and practicing being at maintenance, yeah, you probably should reverse diet. If you're actually eating 1,100 calories a day and you have not taken a break from that, you should probably increase your calories back up to maintenance. If you're really advanced with your nutrition, like you've been doing this a while, you can accurately track, you know how to look for things that are going to lead to weight loss, you should reverse diet if you need to. You don't fall into that category most likely. You don't. You really don't. You don't have to reverse diet. And let's make it simple for ourselves. Let's say you've been in a diet phase for a while, you've lost a lot of weight, and now you want to go up to maintenance, which you should. You should not always be dieting. You should go up to maintenance. Learn how to live at maintenance, because honestly, once you lose the weight, you're not just going to jump back up to what you were eating prior to that, because you'll probably gain the weight back. You're going to have to learn what your new maintenance is, how to be at that, how to be okay with floating around 5 to 10 pounds. Like, that's maintenance. No one's going to be super lean forever. You're going to float around a number, and that's okay. So how do you figure that out? Well, one method is to add like maybe 100 calories a week to your daily total, right? You could do that. So 25 extra calories at a time. If you're someone who's afraid of the scale, I don't know if anyone's ever told you. It's all an estimation. You have to do it for like 2 to 3 weeks, see what the scale says. If you're still losing weight, which could easily happen, you're gonna have to cut your calories again. If you find that the scale is staying the same, stick with it a little longer and then increase. If you find that your pants are suddenly getting very, very tight very quickly, you might want to dial things back a little bit because you probably increased by too much. Because the important thing is you're still staying active. John Berardi made this a very popular thing, this thing called G-Flux, which you're practicing a reverse diet, but you're also increasing your activity level. These two things together allow you to have really great workouts, have more energy, still be getting lean, but also because you're able to train harder, you can put on some more lean mass. G-Flux is great. That would be like if you increased your calories, ate at a higher level, did your workouts, and then hit like 12 to 15,000 steps a day. That's an option for someone. Is it for everyone? No. Because for the most part, you just need to be in a motherfucking calorie deficit. And that is going to allow you to make progress without derailing yourself. I hope you found that helpful. I hope you understand that you don't necessarily need a reverse diet. You just need to be patient, you need to be consistent, and above all else, you need to subscribe to my channel, leave a comment below, give a thumbs up if you like this video, and turn on notifications so you can know when the next video is coming out. I really appreciate it. And I also have a free fat loss guide that you can get by clicking in the show notes below. Make sure you grab that for yourself. And without further ado, you're one day away from getting back on track, and one day away from realizing how fucking amazing you are.